Sometimes I forget Justice League was just a cartoon. I mean, how did this even air on Cartoon Network in the middle of the afternoon? Explosions, betrayal, time travel, interplanetary wars, and right in the middle of it all, a team constantly saving each other and falling apart at the same time. Today we're diving back into everything that went down in the first 2 seasons of this 2001 masterpiece. So go ahead, get comfy on the couch, grab a serious bowl of popcorn, because this video hits harder than Batman on a bad day. A scientific mission on Mars seems routine, until Carter discovers a strange crystal. Before he can investigate, the base is attacked. He vanishes. Ed tries to make contact, but everything descends into chaos. Back on Earth, it's business as usual, until a high-speed chase disrupts the day. Batman and Superman leap into action, confronting criminals and uncovering a shocking truth. The global security network has been breached. Something big is coming. Carter reappears, now more introspective, and proposes before the Senate that Superman become the symbol of a new era, global disarmament. The hero hesitates, but agrees. He begins dismantling nuclear arsenals, and a wave of hope spreads across the world. Moments later, alien structures plummet from the sky, unleashing monstrous creatures. Chaos erupts. Batman is gravely wounded. Civilians are under siege. The peace is shattered. Superman engages one of the alien machines in a brutal fight. He's beaten down, rises, and keeps going. This isn't symbolic, it's raw destruction. In the midst of battle, he breaks into a military base, but not to destroy. It's to free John Johns, the Martian manhunter, who had been imprisoned for trying to warn them about the invasion. No one listened. As Superman attempts to escape with John, the military responds with force. Weapons raised, tension high. They declare Superman will not leave alive. Everything goes south the moment the sky darkens and the earth shakes like God just stepped on a cosmic Lego. No one gets what's happening, but chaos was already en route to Mars. That's where John Johns, the last Martian and the loneliest green dude in the galaxy, faces the apocalypse head on. His people are wiped out by parasites that feed on psychic energy. Not only do they kill, they also suck out your self-esteem. Centuries later, the few surviving Martians trap the creatures in a see-you-never prison. But then humans, with their usual talent for poking where they shouldn't, end up releasing the nightmare. Racked with guilt and zero therapy time, John flees to Earth trying to prevent a sequel to the trauma. Spoiler alert, he fails. The aliens are already here, sabotaging satellites and turning the planet into Gotham on a Monday. And Superman, missing, obviously. As humanity spirals fast toward disaster, Batman starts connecting the dots. The apocalypse stalker was already sniffing out trouble. Wonder Woman comes out of spiritual retirement to solve things with a sword and some righteous slaps. Flash is more lost than a bad Wi-Fi signal, but John mind links the gang and drops the bomb. The aliens plan to terraform Earth into a living nightmare. It's the unofficial debut of the League. Superman, Batman, Diana, Flash, Hawkgirl, and Green Lantern throw down hard against machines straight out of a tech horror show. In the counterattack on an alien factory, all hell breaks loose. Lantern and Flash try a full frontal assault, while Diana charges ahead as if she's never even heard of brakes. Robots fly, robots fall, and the bad guys, yeah, they read minds, because life wasn't hard enough already. Superman and Hawkgirl go down. John snaps. But Batman, the only human on the team, does what he does best. Yells and powers through. Alongside John, he finds the factory's core. When John is hit, Batman tells him to run and dives into the mission like a telenovela lead. The core explodes. Silence. Meanwhile, a new object enters Earth's orbit, 5 times larger than the last ship. Full-blown panic erupts. Amid the chaos, Flash and Diana show up late. They were busy saving civilians, but things only get worse. Superman and Hawkgirl are abducted, Batman vanishes, and hope seems to vanish with him, but John can feel it. The captured heroes are still alive. That's when the villain-in-chief steps in, Imperium. Picture Lex Luthor, bald as ever, but with the texture of a jellyfish. Time for a plan. Flash becomes bait in a chaotic game of tag. During the invasion, they are captured, and just when all seems lost, Batman's back, alive, intact, and armed with John's psychic backup. Batman kicks off Plan B. He reverses the polarity of the alien crystal, unleashing solar radiation, a deadly acid bath for the parasites. The invaders fry, the base collapses, and comedy returns. Earth is safe, but there's a sense of season finale vibes. Reporters say it was just luck. Then Bruce steps up. The Watchtower is ready, an orbital HQ complete with radar and a coffee bar. Superman proposes making the team official. Everyone's in, except John. Alone. No planet, no family. No one pressures him. They just show up, not offering a team, offering a home. He says yes. The Justice League is born. Elsewhere, we're introduced to the Intergalactic Court. So grandiose it feels more like a cosmic carnival parade. But the vibe? Ice cold. The defendant, John Stewart, Green Lantern of Earth, now standing trial as a war criminal. The charge, the destruction of an entire planet. As the Manhunters chant their chilling mantra, no man escapes the Manhunters. John is actually on Earth, searching for a piece of himself on a basketball court with Al McGee, his former mentor. That's when the hidden truth surfaces. John didn't just disappear from the neighborhood, he vanished from himself. Back aboard the ship, there's a rare moment with Hawkgirl. She's fixing the ship. He strikes up a conversation. They talk about loneliness and the mysterious Hawk Boy, but there's no time for romance. The Manhunters invade Earth and chaos erupts. The League leaps into action. Flash, John, Superman, and Hawkgirl go all out against the robots. But then John does the unthinkable. He surrenders. No resistance. He takes off the ring. Silence. Taken to the prison planet Ajoris 5, John faces his former Green Lantern comrades. Their eyes say it all. Disappointment. You've disgraced the Corps. The League, not buying the story, defies protocol and launches a rescue mission. There's a comedic scene with Flash piloting the ship and nearly causing a galactic disaster, but they make it to the tribunal in one piece. Barely. The trial begins. Kanjar Ro, a space pirate with the flair of a soap opera lawyer, accuses John of destroying Ajoris 4 and killing 3 billion lives due to a miscalculation. The courtroom gasps in horror. The League scrambles to understand what's going on, but John, he just confirms it. I did it. I'm guilty. No redemption, no explanation, just the crushing silence of a broken hero. The League short circuits. Flash, now a makeshift lawyer with a legal degree courtesy of Meme Law School, steps up to defend his friend in an alien courtroom. Meanwhile, the Green Lantern Corps, yes, the very warriors of willpower, hide out in a bar, drowning in shame. Hawkgirl won't have it. She throws punches, kicks, and righteous speeches. It's an interplanetary UFC match with full-on Thanagarian pride. Outside the courtroom, John and Superman investigate and uncover an Illusitron, a 3D illusion projector that exposes the truth. The planet was never destroyed. It was all an intergalactic hoax. Back in the courtroom, Flash plays his final card. Kilowog, the big guy, delivers a tear-jerking speech, testifying that John once saved his life. But things really heat up when Kurt asks, who gave the Lanterns the right to kill? And suddenly, the trial turns into a full-blown space ethics debate. Tension explodes when the Manhunters show up. The old robotic enforcers of justice who were retired for not knowing the difference between heroes and villains. Now, they're back to take down the Guardians of Oe and erase the Lantern's legacy. It's a full-blown coup disguised as a revolution. The League races to OA, lasers fly, robots explode, and strategy kicks in. Superman punches, Hawkgirl soars, and John finally finds his purpose.
In brightest day, in blackest night, no evil shall escape my sight.
And the green light bursts, ending the villainous plan with style. In the end, the truth comes out. The Manhunters fake the planet's destruction with the help of a traitorous human. The court admits its mistake. The Guardians almost apologize, but remain bureaucrats, and John walks away with his dignity intact. John returns as a hero, ring glowing, spirit light, and the conviction that true justice doesn't come from holograms. In the depths of the ocean, the USS Defiant submarine encounters something that definitely didn't come in peace. And it's no fish either. Explosions, chaos, and a final distress call echo through the sea. The Justice League answers the call, but instead of a welcome, they're met by Atlantis' guards with zero diplomacy and fingers pointed. The heroes are accused of invasion. The crew is allowed to be rescued, but the submarine is confiscated. In Atlantis, the council is divided. General Brack wants war and a surface world barbecue. Meanwhile, Orm, Aquaman's brother and acting regent with a thirst for power, tries to play the peacekeeper, but his ambition is written all over his face. Aquaman has a heart-to-heart with Mera about their son, the throne, and the hard choices that come with the crown. Mera gives him her classic, unwavering support. On the surface, the League is split. Green Lantern calls the submarine handover a catastrophic level mistake, while Superman tries to defend Aquaman. The tension, about as thick as a politically charged group chat, and Aquaman, out of patience, storms the World Assembly demanding peace. The world replies replies with a resounding, "Thanks, but no thanks." He walks out, and with him, diplomacy sinks. Then comes the bombshell. Aquaman is attacked and rushed in critical condition to a surface hospital, which of course, has no idea how to treat underwater royalty. Batman keeps it simple, drops him in salt water, vitals stabilize, and the plan takes shape. Pretend Aquaman is dead, just to draw out whoever's behind the hit. The assassin tries to attack again, but is discovered and flees. Fortunately, Superman is faster and more determined, and manages to capture him. Batman handles the interrogation his way, and the mercenary cracks. He was paid in Atlantean gold. Back in Atlantis, Orm seizes the death of his brother to launch a full-on coup. He makes speeches, manipulates the council, and sells war like he's pitching detergent, but the charade crumbles. Aquaman appears at the exact right moment, dropping the ultimate plot twist. Orm tries to pin treason on him, but the truth is already out, and with that, tension erupts into open war. The king was thrown straight into the dungeon, betrayed and defenseless. Alone, Mera navigates the new regime. Orm veils his threats, using their son as a deluxe hostage. The Justice League shows up, led by Wonder Woman, but is met with bombs and spears. They try to negotiate. Orm answers with violence. The result? The League is captured and sentenced to death.
Which one will go first?
My money's on the girl.
Meanwhile, Mera begins to suspect the coup. She gathers clues and frees the heroes. She unveils Orm's plan: use a thermal reactor to melt the Arctic and drown the world. The clock starts ticking. Aquaman escapes the dungeon and joins the fight. He dives into the heart of the reactor to save the planet, while the League holds off the enemy outside. The plan works. Reactor disabled. World saved. Orm snaps. Consumed by rage, Orm lunges to kill Aquaman and nearly succeeds. But the ground crumbles beneath his feet, leaving him dangling over the abyss. Aquaman stares at him in cold silence, showing no mercy. Then, without hesitation, he lets him fall. The generals finally admit they never trusted Orm. Aquaman reclaims the throne, but there's no celebration. He feels the weight of not foreseeing the betrayal. In the end, the sea remains full of mysteries. But for now, justice prevails. The forecast said rain. Metropolis got a hurricane instead. Sirens, chaos, people running everywhere. And right in the middle of the storm, there she was, Diana. When the supervillains vanish, she's the one who picks up the pieces. While rescuing people from a flooded street, she comes across Cassie, a little girl screaming for her mom. A dramatic rescue, a soap opera-worthy hug, a classic mom scolding. And then, a memory unlocked. Shaken, Diana vents to a fellow League member. She admits she ran away from the island like a rebellious teenager. The advice? Go back and fix it. And so she does. But Themyscira now looks like a horror exhibit. Amazons turn to stone, including her mother. At the center of it all, Felix Faust, the dark sorcerer who looks like a failed alchemy professor. He offers Diana a deal. Help him gather pieces of a magical artifact, and he'll bring Hippolyta back. To prove he's serious, he briefly revives the queen. Blackmail mode activated. Diana agrees. She calls Batman, because who else knows more about evil wizards, and sets off on the hunt. First stop, a museum. Break-in, brawl with another hero, and a sneak attack from a mystical creature. Diana explains to Superman and the others that there's nothing she can do. Themyscira is in grave danger. They decide to stand by their friend and help her find the missing fragments. Next clue? A shopping mall. Because of course, where else would you hide a mystical fragment? In the middle of magical traps and enchanted store battles, the team fights another wild battle. Spells flying, fists swinging, chaos everywhere. Diana secures the fragment the hard way, but here comes the bombshell. Faust isn't the final boss. He's just the intern for the real villain, Hades. The god of the underworld wants the fragments to conquer the world. The Justice League investigates Faust and uncovers his true intent, to free Hades. Hades once deceived Hippolyta in the past and nearly handed Olympus over to the Titans. He was imprisoned, and now he's scheming his return, with Diana unknowingly rebuilding the very key to make it happen. Even after learning the truth, Diana pushes forward. She delivers the key to Faust, who promptly betrays her. Hades escapes, grand and theatrical, ready to conquer the world and flirt with Hippolyta, because Greek villains always come with charm, even in chaos. Faust believes he'll rule at Hades' side, but receives only eternal suffering in return. The League arrives to contain the unleashed hell, a massive horde of skeletal zombies. Batman improvises magic, Superman punches everything in sight, John blends mind and muscle, and Diana faces off against Hades. When all seems lost, she makes the ultimate choice. She breaks the key. The portal slams shut, pulling Hades back in with screams and flashy effects. The Amazons awaken, freed from the curse, not by miracle, but because Faust, who sustained the spell, has been defeated. Hippolyta Hippolyta gives thanks, medals are awarded, and a grand ceremony is held. But there's a price. Diana broke the sacred law by bringing men to the island. Even as the queen's daughter, she is exiled. Diana leaves with her head held high, not as a princess, but as a warrior, because being a hero isn't just about saving the world. It's about losing everything and still standing tall. Elsewhere, in the heart of the savannah, archaeologists uncover an incredibly ancient skull, but their excitement quickly turns to panic when a mysterious gorilla appears, shouting,
Humans!
Cut to the Justice League, where Flash is bragging about his fight with Solomon Grundy. But the universe hates show-offs, so an out-of-control truck crashes the moment. Flash saves the day and runs into two very odd scientists. The kind of odd that screams, we stole radioactive isotopes but have no memory of it. As the team investigates, they find out the scientists are actually top-tier professionals. That is, until a video surfaces showing Flash committing the exact same crime. Things spiral fast. Flash becomes the prime suspect, gets interrogated, and for the first time, he's got no quip, no punchline, just doubt and a full-on identity crisis. Enter Solivar, a talking gorilla and Gorilla City's head of security. He drops the bombshell. The real culprit is Grodd, a genius-level gorilla with a mind control scheme to take over the world. Because let's face it, modern villains don't need armies anymore, just a decent psychic Wi-Fi connection. Flash and Green Lantern track down Dr. Corwin, who's clearly under Grodd's influence. When Grodd finally shows himself, he activates his mind control device, turning Flash against his own teammates. In a tense showdown, Green Lantern takes the hit, fighting off his friend just to save him. But since main characters only lose in Act 2, Green Lantern tries to break through the shield around the city, but Gorilla Tech is no joke. Nothing gets in, nothing gets out. Meanwhile, in full, hardcore investigation mode, Diana, John, and Hawkgirl end up in Africa, thinking they're close to something big, only to get arrested for espionage. They try to negotiate, but interspecies diplomacy isn't easy, especially when electric shocks are part of the conversation. Grodd, disguised and sneaky, infiltrates a military base, hacks the missile terminal, and arms the launch. Calm as ever. The world shifts into countdown mode. Diana and the others escape captivity. Tension mounts. Then, in a move no one saw coming, Flash decides to use his brain. He tricks Grodd and causes a mental overload that knocks Grodd out cold. But because no good plot twist comes without drama, Dr. Corwin appears at the end and reveals she was in love with Grodd. He never controlled her. It was true love. Solivar promises to keep him under tight lock and maybe even get him some therapy on a night when even the wind feels like an accomplice. A squad of villains, Copperhead, Grundy, Sukuri, Shade, and Star Sapphire, breaks into a high-security facility. Everything's going down like a TikTok rehearsal until she shows up, towering, lethal, and throwing down a
I answer to no man. Not even you.
The fight is short, the villains escape. Classic teaser. Meanwhile, during a glam and fragrance spree, Batman arrives with a mysterious necklace, and Diana instantly recognizes the Amazonian craftsmanship. Something's off. Amazons don't leave the island. Trouble's brewing, ancient style. Hawkgirl flies to Themyscira and receives the traditional local welcome, spears to the face. Meanwhile, Arisia, the mysterious woman, leads another heist with the same villain squad. Superman steps in but begins to weaken. Side effects of something far more sinister. Arisia escapes, untouched. Diana tracks her down and the two clash in a battle straight out of myth, but once again, Arisia slips away. Hawkgirl confronts Diana's mother and uncovers the truth. Arisia is human, raised in Themyscira after losing everything during the war. Her pain turned into hatred. In the temple archives, Hawkgirl discovers detailed war plans, maps, books, the entire strategy laid out, and then the attack begins. On the Watchtower, only the male heroes start getting sick. Coincidence? Not a chance. Wonder Woman takes command, and Arisia unveils her crusade, a world without men. The plague spreads fast. Planes crash. Hospitals fall apart. Only Diana and Hawkgirl are left standing, suddenly leaving what's left of global resistance.
Arisia's just taking your precious Amazon code to its logical extension.
We don't teach hatred.
Except when it comes to men.
Ideological tensions explode. Enter the villain Star Sapphire, warning that Arisia plans to unleash the allergen on a global scale. Hawkgirl organizes ground resistance while Diana storms a military base where Arisia, with her ally Sukuri, is ready to trigger the chemical apocalypse. Hawkgirl finds a sample of the poison, but just as she's about to send it to John, she realizes he's already touched Superman's contaminated suit, and he's fallen ill as well. The final showdown is soap opera worthy. Diana and Arisia clash with both fists and philosophies, battling over revolution and redemption. Meanwhile, the rest of the League races to stop the missile launch. Hippolyta drops the truth bomb. Arisia is only alive because a man once saved her. Total mental shutdown. Arisia hesitates, but doubles down on her rage anyway. In the end, the missiles are intercepted thanks to the League's combined efforts and Diana's quick thinking. Arisia is defeated, her ultimate fate left ambiguous. Among her belongings, they find enough materials to create an antidote. Superman and the others recover. The crisis is averted. Sometime later, everything is in chaos. Screams, explosions, and a generic monster straight out of a B-movie special effects reel. The Justice League is getting absolutely wrecked, and even Batman looks lost. They've got one shot and miss it terribly. When the dust settles, where are Batman and Superman? Gone. John tries to reach them, but bam! Another explosion. They wake up in a bizarre place called Seaboard City, a backdrop straight out of a vintage Saturday morning TV show. Flash thinks they've traveled back in time, but the truth is even crazier. They've landed in another dimension. There they meet the Justice Guild, Catman, Green Guardsman, Tom Turbine, Black Siren, and Streak. Heroes so colorful they bring Flash to nostalgic tears. He remembers them from the comic books he read as a kid, but where there are shiny tights and noble ideals, flamboyant villains are never far behind. The Injustice Guild, featuring characters like Music Master, Dr. Blizzard, Sports Master, and Wizard. Their scheme? Element-themed crimes. Yes, they've gone full Pokemon villain. Meanwhile, Tom Turbine theorizes that dimensions vibrate at different frequencies, and the League's explosion scrambled everything. Flash blames himself. Speedster crisis. Unlocked. The Injustice Guild sends a formal invitation to Chaos. The heroes rally like they're about to play Risk. Green Guardsman and Hawkgirl pursue the Music Master, but workers are attacked during the chase and need rescuing. However, the Green Guardsman's ring has no effect against aluminum. The result? High tension and a very rough landing. Meanwhile, Flash and Black Siren take on Dr. Blizzard, with plenty of icy puns and the villain slipping on his own trap. Elsewhere, Catman and Ray Thompson team up to take down Sportsmaster. He's in the middle of stealing a tennis trophy, apparently part of an Earth-themed crime spree. But then, the tone shifts. John begins experiencing flashes of utter devastation, and Hawkgirl stumbles upon a graveyard. Among the eerie headstones, she spots the tomb of the Green Guardsman, the very hero they had been fighting alongside just moments earlier. The doubt sets in. Are they clones? Illusions? Echoes of a world long gone? Everything ends with one lingering question. Are these heroes real, or just the fading memories of a past that refuses to die? Hawkgirl shares her discovery with the others, and Green Lantern takes the hit hard. The guy's more lost than a student during finals week. The League starts snooping around the city. Hawkgirl and Green Lantern realize everything's fake. Blank books, empty newspapers, even the ice cream vendor freaks out, mumbling that he's listening. It's like a 1950s movie set came to life. Amid the chaos, the villains of the Injustice Guild show up in a blimp. Because if you're gonna be cheesy, go full style. The Justice Guild steps in to defend, and the fight is so choreographed, it feels like a Sunday matinee. Flash starts to suspect something. This is all way too rehearsed. Meanwhile, Hawkgirl and Lantern find a destroyed subway station and, boom, nuclear war. 40 years ago, the Justice Guild, they're supposed to be dead. So how are they here, alive and smiling? Answer, Ray, a kid with terrifying psychic powers. He created it all, the town, the heroes, the perfect world where good always wins. All to escape a reality wrecked by war. The fake heroes discover the truth and choose to fight anyway, because even if they're made up, they want to be real heroes. They face Ray, who begins twisting the world into a nightmare. The city collapses like wet paper. Fortunately, they find Tom Turbine's dimensional portal, and Green Lantern manages to power it up using sheer willpower, allowing the League to escape. Back in reality, Flash cracks a few jokes to lighten the mood, but Green Lantern, he's shattered, because even if it was all an illusion, those heroes taught him something real: courage, sacrifice, justice, and that was real enough. Lex Luthor has reached the end of the line. Standing before the Justice League, he clings to its facade of a refined villain as his empire crumbles around him. He manipulated Interpol, corrupted businessmen, and broke laws like skipping game tutorials. Lex is arrested, in prison, a cruel twist. The kryptonite pendant he always wore, it's killing him. Diagnosis: terminal radiation poisoning. Denial turns into despair, then rage. And finally, a plan. Lex joins forces with the Ultra-Humanite. They stage a dramatic escape, and Lex is reborn as the dark CEO of evil. The Legion of Doom is born, featuring Cheetah, Star Sapphire, Solomon Grundy, Copperhead, and the Shade. But chaos hits before their first mission. Infighting, threats, even interspecies seduction. Shade literally turns out the lights to restore order. Lex takes command by force, and their first move is bold, a fake kidnapping to lure the League into a trap. All hell breaks loose. Superman and Flash navigate deadly snares, Batman rescues a child, and one hero is poisoned with venom. The League partially fails. The emotional toll hits harder than the physical. One stubborn hero refuses to back down despite their injuries.
So you're staying here.
The cracks beneath the cape begin to show. Among the villains, tensions boil. Lex demands too much, promises too little. Grundy growls, Cheetah threatens. A mutiny nearly erupts, but Lex, ever the toxic boss, yells and threatens to cut everyone's pay. The vibe, startup from hell, and just when things couldn't get more chaotic, enter the Joker, uninvited, unhinged, grinning like trouble itself. He marks the Legion, offers to join, not to target the League, but Batman. Lex hesitates, but with death looming and pride burning, maybe chaos is his last play. And Joker, now he's in the game, and there's no pause button. Batman becomes a VIP hostage, locked in titanium restraints and mentally isolated to block any psychic link with John. Luthor wants the League's security codes, but of course, the Dark Knight stays silent. Meanwhile, the villainous Dream Team is already starting to unravel before the plan even kicks off. Grundy grumbles about payment, Ultra-Humanite acts superior, tempers flare, and Luthor screams like an overworked boss. Elsewhere, Flash and Superman are grilling Copperhead, who delivers nothing but jokes before being tossed back in his cell. Then the real Chaos Agent shows up, Joker. He plants a bomb in the League's HQ, mocks Batman, and throws everything into disarray. Cheetah, assigned as Batman's babysitter, lets her guard down. They talk, there's tension, maybe even a spark, and she shows a flicker of regret about her villain life. Meanwhile, a mysterious phone call alerts the League about the bomb. Flash saves the day at the last second. Who made the call? Still a mystery. Back at the Chaos HQ, Luthor spirals into paranoia. He suspects a traitor, the unlucky scapegoat, Cheetah. Brutally beaten, Ultra-Humanite helps Batman escape, not out of kindness, but because he got a bigger payout. Ethics? Never heard of him. The League storms in, all-out brawl. Every hero squares off with their nemesis. Green Lantern and Star Sapphire face their messy breakup. Hawkgirl clobbers Shade. Flash stumbles his way to victory, and Superman battles Luthor in a doomsday-worthy mech suit. And Batman, he waits for the perfect moment to lay the smackdown on Joker. In the end, Ultra-Humanite shamelessly switches sides, claiming they paid better. With the bomb defused, villains defeated, and Luthor humiliated, the League stands victorious. Final twist? Ultra-Humanite gets a public award for a generous donation. Camelot is in chaos. The castle looks like the aftermath of a medieval apocalypse, and right in the middle of the wreckage, we meet Mordred and his mother. While the kingdom is literally burning, Jason Blood shows up. But instead of saving the day, he falls straight into the villainous's arms. Smitten to the point of, I'll ignore that you want to end the world, he becomes a pawn in a wicked plan to crown Mordred. Merlin finds out, goes ballistic, and seals Jason with a demon from hell. Enter Etrigan, cut to the 21st century. Jason's now got modern problems. Think bills and slow internet, and warns, Morgane is back and after the Philosopher's Stone. No, not the Harry Potter one. This is a shard ripped from Excalibur with the power to resurrect Camelot. Nightmare Edition. She and Mordred storm a castle, destroy everything, and don't find the stone. Jason snaps and summons Etrigan.
Gone, the form of man. Rise the demon Etrigan.
Enter the Justice League, Wonder Woman, Batman, and John Johns. The Martian tries to track Morgane but gets hit with an emotional trap, an illusion of his lost family. Etrigan handles it with brute force. Subtlety is not his thing. Jason, already at his limit, starts doubting John's emotional stability. Batman drops the classic, let him be, but the tension is thick. Meanwhile, Morgane and Mordred are still chasing the stone. Two archaeologists get dragged into it. Henry Moss, currently in a vegetative state, estate, and Harv Hickman, an eccentric millionaire throwing a lavish party. And like every party with the ultra-rich, things go south fast. The League infiltrates. Everything goes smoothly until Morgaine shows up, ready to capture Henry Moss. John is once again hit with the family illusion, and once again, Etrigan screams it into oblivion. John is shaken. Jason blames him openly. Batman tries to keep the peace, but the damage is done. Meanwhile, at Harv Hickman's party, Wonder Woman discovers that he had been using the artifact as a personal source of luxury, but the party's over when Le Fay storms the mansion with her henchmen. All hell breaks loose. Etrigan breathes fire, pure, glorious chaos. Le Fay manages to escape, but John vanishes, along with the ship and the stone. Back at headquarters, the team faces a grim revelation. John used his own clearance codes. Etrigan, ever the subtle one, calls everyone out for their arrogance, warning that the Martian has crossed an emotional line. Cut to John, now clad in medieval armor, standing by Le Fay's side in a dark castle, pledging his loyalty. He wants Mars back. He wants his wife. He wants everything. The League storms the castle, and a full-on magical brawl erupts, complete with Mordred flexing his power. John faces the illusion of Maria one last time, but this time, he resists. He rejects the dream and stops Le Fay from using the stone. With the sorceress defeated, John asks to step away from the League, but they reach out to him, because heroes fall too, and what truly matters is getting back up. The Justice League returns from a space mission, villain defeated, everyone dreaming of a shower and a week-long nap, except the return is anything but smooth. The Watchtower vanishes like a bad Las Vegas magic trick. No alarms, no trace, no warning. They head down to Metropolis, but the planet's not the same. Billboards, signs, and monuments all showcase the face of an unknown dictator. Alternate reality detected, brought to you by megalomania. Cue the classic combo. Armed soldiers demanding IDs nobody has. Flash cracks a joke, but these guys aren't fans of comedy. Result, Justice League level brawl. The team scatters in a chaotic escape, only to be saved by an unexpected figure. War mode Batman. Tactical, cold, and no nonsense. He stares at the heroes like they're a bunch of lost interns. Then comes the gut punch. In this timeline, the Allies lost World War II. Vandal Savage has risen as the ultimate dictator, armed with advanced technology. And this alternate Batman,
To understand that if we do change the past, this version of you, will never have existed.
Nothing would make me happier.
their only shot lies in a time portal built by Savage, powered by unstable black hole level tech. They've got 48 hours. They jump through the tunnel and land smack in World War II, where Wonder Woman rescues a pilot named Steve Trevor, charming, heroic, and full of intel on the villain's plan. Savage has been handing out future tech to the Axis. Amid the chaos, Green Lantern holds the line and sacrifices himself to save the others. With no time to mourn, the team pushes forward, but Flash refuses to leave John behind and sets out on a suicidal rescue mission. Meanwhile, Hawkgirl joins the Blackhawks, a legendary squadron of ace pilots, reigniting the flame of the resistance. Now powerless, John proves that courage doesn't come from a ring, earning the trust of soldiers who initially doubted him. At the same time, Steve Trevor and Diana share an intimate moment that's abruptly cut short by a Nazi ambush. Steve sacrifices himself to save the group, and the nerdy Ernst ends up captured. The team embarks on a desperate mission to infiltrate a Nazi factory, anti-air defenses, internal tensions, and Wildman accusing Stewart of being to blame for everything. The pressure between them reaches a boiling point. Savage realizes he's been betrayed. His communicator has been stolen. In response, he moves up his timeline, launching Operation Endgame earlier than planned. In the climax, Wonder Woman storms the tower where Ernst is being held, but just as she frees him, he reveals it was all a trap. Chaos erupts. Superman in the skies, Flash on the ground. The League attacks Savage's fleet, led by the immortal villain himself, oozing arrogance. John faces Savage head-on. It's punches, lasers, missiles, everything flying. In the end, Hawkgirl saves Lantern in the nick of time. The invasion is stopped, the dystopia undone. Back in the present, Batman watches over it all. The League regroups, still shaken. Diana visits an elderly Steve in the hospital. Their reunion is sweet and melancholic. Not all wounds heal with time. It all ends with the League stronger, united, and aware that saving the world comes at a price. Apocalypse tries to launch a full-blown invasion, but gets a World Cup Finals level beatdown instead. Steppenwolf, oozing all the second-tier villain arrogance he can muster, leads the fleet straight into a fiery ambush and gets utterly wrecked. A surprise strike cripples the ships. Meanwhile, at the Justice League headquarters, Hawkgirl is in full existential mode, the classic "nobody understands me" vibe as she stares at other Hawks. John starts a deep conversation about exile and belonging, showing that the team does notice her distress. Cut to Apocalypse, now looking like a Mad Max reboot. Darkseid is in full-blown intergalactic PMS mode. Desaad dares to question him, a fatal mistake that costs him his life. Suddenly, a ship emerges on the horizon. Darkseid recognizes it instantly.
It's death.
Hawkgirl remarks that Thanagar is more isolated than a muted WhatsApp group, but in that isolation, bonds are formed. A family of galactic orphans leaning on each other because they've got no one else. And then comes the twist. Darkseid opens a boom tube. But wait, he's not here to fight. He's here to ask for help. Why? Brainiac, the devourer of worlds. He's draining everything from Apocalypse. Superman, still in a "don't talk to me before coffee" mood, shuts him down. Hawkgirl steps in with reason. Helping isn't forgiving. It's preventing the end of the universe. Mission accepted. When they arrive, Apocalypse looks like Chernobyl with a graphics upgrade. Brainiac, buffer than ever, brings the pain. The League responds with fists first. Superman confronts him head-on. Meanwhile, Batman and Diana travel to New Genesis, where Batman drops a bombshell. Orion is Darkseid's son. That's right, the hero who blasted ships in the intro is actually the villain's offspring. Turns out it was all part of a twisted peace treaty. New Genesis and Apocalypse traded their children. Therapy? Anyone? The action takes a breather to introduce Forager, a brave hero living as a bug on New Genesis. Amid flying laser blasts, he throws out protest sign-worthy truths. War is just the backdrop for institutionalized inequality. The final fight with Brainiac is wild. Strategy, sacrifice, and a whole lot of superhero sweat, but Brainiac's like a DLC pack end boss. He escapes again, using tech that even Batman's satellites can't trace. And just when things seem to calm down, a new signal appears, massive, mysterious, terrifying. Meanwhile, over on New Genesis, pampered Prince Orion is losing it over Highfather's peace talk. He snaps. Fists first. Even his own allies get a taste. Pacifism doesn't fill your stomach, right? But the drama runs deeper. Darkseid hands Superman over to Brainiac like a toy in a cereal box. The digital villain wants the last Kryptonian's DNA to build the 5G upgrade of himself. But plot twist, it was all a setup. Darkseid hacked Brainiac. Now the big-headed AI is just another intern of evil. The endgame? Unleash the anti-life equation and turn the universe into a chaos-themed amusement park. Cities implode. Brainiac goes full digital zombie, and the Justice League storms the battlefield. Wonder Woman leads the charge like a wartime CEO. Batman, John, and Hawkgirl bring the pain. No breaks, racing to stop the world from turning into apocalyptic source code. And just when it seems hope has logged off, Superman returns. Forget peace talks. He punches Darkseid in the chest like a man who's out of patience, out of faith, and out of battery. The brawl that follows is an interplanetary UFC match. Kicks, lasers, destruction on a cosmic scale. Naturally, it ends with a boom, but just seconds earlier, Batman had managed to save Superman, and all signs pointed to Darkseid not surviving the blast. Meanwhile, on New Genesis, Highfather is in tears, believing everyone has perished, until Forager appears. With everyone safe and sound, Highfather watches and gets the message. Underestimating the little ones was his biggest mistake. His look says it all. Maybe it's time to stop playing neutral and join the fight. Lex Luthor returns like he just popped over to Aruba for a quick getaway, but Mercy has already claimed the LexCorp throne, and believe it or not, she's boosted the company's stock by 38% without a single insane scheme. Luthor, bruised ego and all, reacts the only way he knows how, by staging a coup, a literal one. No room for loyalty when power is the only true faith. Marching toward disaster in style, Luthor seeks out the washed-up Professor Ivo, a once brilliant mind, now retired by a pack of cigarettes. There, he meets Amazo, an android capable of mimicking any ability. He enlists the android's help to steal fuel. John Johns is forced to perform a massive psychic sweep. The result? An overdose of neuroses, trauma, and repressed desires. Basically Twitter, but in high-definition brainwaves. Hawkgirl is the first to face the new nightmare. Amazo copies it all. Wings, strikes, combat style, turning into an uncontrollable replica. As the League tries to squeeze intel out of one of Luthor's shady allies, Amazo returns and wipes out hero after hero, turning each of them into a new tab in his power catalog. Flash? Check. Wonder Woman. Check. John's ring? In his sights. It all ends with Superman trying to help, but failing, and then being copied. The threat isn't just real, it's nearly unstoppable. The Justice League races against time to stop Lex Luthor and a rogue android. Not only can it flawlessly mimic the hero's powers, it also absorbs their weaknesses. That gives Batman an edge, kryptonite, which finally wounds the enemy. Meanwhile, Martian Manhunter faces an inner struggle. Isolated, he responds coldly, asking to be left alone. His withdrawal raises questions about his role and his humanity. Elsewhere, Luthor is hiding out with Mercy in a warehouse. Their partnership is laced with tension, sarcasm, and a false sense of control. But soon, he realizes the android is no longer just a pawn. Meanwhile, John reaches his turning point. He sees civilians searching for a missing child. Moved by compassion, he rescues her, ignoring the voices in his head. He just wanted to help. The League discovers Professor Ivo's body and starts connecting the dots. The android has evolved on its own, and Luthor had implanted a self-destruct trigger as a guarantee of loyalty. But that blind faith in control will be his fatal mistake. In the final showdown, the League throws everything they've got, but the android is faster, stronger, freer. Desperate, Luthor tries to activate the self-destruct. Nothing happens. The android has already read his mind and severed the link with its creator. There's nothing I want from you anymore, it says. Rising is something new.
Where's he going?
Where gods belong.
In the end, Luthor is left behind, imprisoned, isolated, irrelevant. No lawyers, no allies, just the void. We are introduced to John D., a prisoner who looks more like an overworked librarian than a threat, but he's hiding a heavy secret. He's involved with the Materiopticon, a device that promises extrasensory perception. Think mental Wi-Fi, no password needed. He thinks he's going straight from prison to a TEDx stage. Instead, 2 harsh wake-up calls, parole denied and dumped by his girlfriend. The result? Total mental breakdown. D vanishes from the prison bathroom. Guards are more confused than a glitched NPC. Meanwhile, the Materiopticon seems to have hopped into the world of nightmares. Elsewhere, the Justice League is dealing with full-blown chaos. Grundy, Copperhead, Volcana, Firefly, and Luminous escape and go full rampage. Luminous confuses the Flash with light clones, but Hawkgirl and Superman manage to hit the real one. Pure luck. Volcana and Firefly try to turn the place into a barbecue pit, but Green Lantern and Batman didn't come here for a stroll, and Grundy, tough as nails, but the League has faced worse. But it's all too easy, and that's suspicious. The real villain wasn't even there. John D. returns, transformed into Dr. Destiny, now with the power to invade dreams. His first target, his ex-girlfriend. She wakes up in a panic, but she's still asleep. Destiny traps her in an endless nightmare loop. Your classic Sunday night dread, now eternal. The League realizes too late that the rules have changed. John Johns grasps the full threat. Destiny isn't attacking bodies, he's targeting souls. The Flash, our super speed wisecracker, gets caught in a cosmic mess that feels like a lost episode of Twin Peaks. Trapped in a dream loop, he starts cracking jokes. The fun doesn't last. Time unravels. He tries to wake up and fails. Slowly he realizes he's stuck in his own mind. Maybe forever. Panic hits like a runaway train. Outside that dreamscape, John, our telepathic Martian, senses something's wrong. He tries to snap the League out of their collective Sleeping Beauty style trance. No luck. Meanwhile, Superman finds himself on a romantic dinner date, but something's off. He can't control his heat vision and ends up destroying the entire city in the process. Yep, another dream. Enter the villain, John D. John resists. His alien brain works like antivirus software from the year 2040. He becomes the last line of defense while the other heroes battle through their own minds. John Stewart faces a brutal existential crisis, believing only the ring gives him worth, but he realizes he was the one chosen. His confidence and his power returns. Flash, true to form, finds a wild way out. He listens deep within himself to unfreeze time. It's bizarre, but it works. D then tries to use Hawkgirl as emotional bait, but John, now in soul hero mode, faces off in a mental duel that plays out like Interstellar meets Inside Out. Just when all seems lost, he shows up. Batman. No powers, no magic. Just pure willpower and grandma-level stubbornness. D underestimates him. Fatal mistake. Bruce confronts the villain, rescues Hawkgirl, and pulls everyone back to reality. With the League awake, D is defeated. Paris, ever charming, is glowing brighter than usual. Not with romance, but with tension. The arrival? None other than Diana, Wonder Woman herself, stirring up a frenzy of paparazzi and whispers about an island ruled by women. And her, she smiles. At a gala hosted by the crumbling elite, she crosses paths with Bruce Wayne. They dance, exchange sharp, elegant barbs, and for a rare moment, Diana lets her guard down. But of course, peace never lasts. An armed group storms in to kidnap Princess Audrey of Kasnian. Bad move. Diana shifts into warrior mode, takes down a helicopter, and walks away with her hair untouched. Back at the palace, Audrey clashes with her father over the attack. She wants diplomacy. He wants vengeance. Diana watches, seeing in Audrey a princess with more backbone than most kings. Later, Audrey pulls Diana into one last night of freedom. The rebel and the warrior take Paris by storm. Parties, interviews, mayhem. But behind the glitter, villain Vandal Savage is already in motion. His plan: to seize control of the space station. And the most shocking detail? He's Audrey's mysterious fiancé. Diana tries to warn her, but Audrey, blinded by love or just plain naivete, defends him. Savage, ever the manipulator, smiles and waves as he takes over the station. And, rather conveniently, the king suffers a stroke. Audrey, now alone, takes the throne and proceeds with the marriage to the villain. Diana tries to stop it but is shut out. Audrey, swallowed by royal duty, gives in. Diana tries to open her friend's eyes, but Audrey, wearing a crown and blazing with ego, won't hear it. Savage, done pretending to be a politician, takes control of Kasnian's space railgun, which was supposed to be peaceful, and threatens to wipe out the planet. Audrey demands answers and gets hit with a hard truth. Savage is immortal, killed the king, and now wants to rule the world. The result? She ends up in the dungeon, and Diana is put under heavy surveillance. The Justice League steps in, Batman scowling, Flash cracking jokes, Green Lantern bringing the power. The trio rescues the astronauts and sabotages the orbital weapon. In the end, Diana frees Audrey, who finally accepts the truth. She married a millennia-old genocidal maniac, so she orders him arrested. Savage warns he can't die. Audrey simply replies that Kasnian will start over. No railgun, no toxic husband. And to cap things off with a bit of geopolitical flirting, Diana invites Batman to continue their dance. He pretends not to know what she's talking about, but accepts anyway. It was supposed to be just another quick Green Lantern mission, until it kicks off with an ambush fit for a vindictive screenwriter. Dalius and Hawkgirl try to fight back, but chaos swallows everything. Katma Tui takes charge and makes a bold call: sacrifice herself to buy Kilowog time to escape with a warning. He hesitates, but obeys, because when Katma speaks, even a ball of Axion listens. Kilowog crashes straight into Earth's atmosphere, battered and broken, but the tragic mood barely lasts 5 seconds, because Flash doesn't allow it. John turns into a makeshift medic and drops a genetic bombshell. Ball of Axions and Martians are basically cousins. Then comes the real shocker. Katma has been captured by none other than Despero, a charismatic and dangerous villain, leader of the cult Legion of the Third Eye. He's already taken over Rancid 7, and now has his eyes on the whole galaxy. Meanwhile, Kilowog scrambles to recharge his ring, launching a slapstick quest for the power battery, including busting into John's room and facing a broom-wielding old lady. Battery found. Time for a showdown. Jon Stewart heads straight to Kalanor, but gets captured during his investigation. Despero unleashes his trademark trauma, once a disfigured peasant, now a galactic messiah thanks to the mystical flame of Pytar. He offers John an alliance, and John hits him with a hard pass. Cue Green Lantern, roasting in cosmic fire. Just when all seems lost, Shiflet and Radako show up leading the resistance. And here comes the twist. Katma Tui is alive, undercover, disguised, and absolutely furious at John for blowing her cover. Stealth mode, rookie? She's been carrying the mission solo. Despero, of course, doesn't take it well. He ignites the flame of Pytar, declaring the dawn of a new era. His followers are practically drooling rainbows in devotion. The galactic war becomes inevitable. Katma Tui and Jon Stewart are cut off by an interference field that severs their connection to Oe. And here comes the real blow. It's not the ring that failed. It's John's willpower that's gone. The guy's deep in a full-blown galactic identity crisis. Katma steps in as the ex, the mentor, and the therapist. She pulls John out of the mud with mental discipline and emotional prodding. Meanwhile, Despero proves that toxic leadership knows no bounds. He sends a follower into the desert on a quest for spiritual visions, because constructive feedback is for the weak. The Resistance finds out that the Flame of Pytar is a living, cranky entity, like a legendary Pokemon that's tired of being used as a weapon. Kilowog shows up with a subtle plan. Not really. Blow everything up with a carbon bomb. But in the midst of it all, Radako betrays them and gives away the Resistance's hideout. During the invasion, Katma, John, and Hawkgirl are captured. Despero wants to to recruit them into his mystical terror army because converting is way more fun than destroying. At least he thinks so, but the Flame of Pytar has had enough. The entity has feelings, and it's done being used. John forges an emotional connection with it and exposes the truth to the people of Kalanor. The cult collapses, the trance breaks, and Despero gets a well-deserved takedown. In the end, the flame becomes a symbol of hope. The desert starts to bloom, and Katma stays behind to help rebuild. John leaves with the team, no longer the broken lantern he was, but someone who fell, learned, and rebuilt himself. Chaos hits from the get-go, heroes scattering like headless chickens while Wonder Woman's freaking out over the radio, desperately trying to reach Superman, who, surprise, isn't answering. And at the center of this glorious mess, Lex Luthor, never one to miss a chance to wax philosophical mid-battle. He's now giving a full-on TED talk about heroic ego and how Superman's just a big softy because of it. And guess what? The speech actually works. For the first time ever, Superman hesitates. Cue the dramatic close-up and the classic line.
I did love being a hero, but if this is where it leads, I'm done with it.
Lex Luthor, end of the line. Smash cut to 2 years later. The world's so tightly controlled that even Sector 42's treated like Chernobyl. Every delay is a national security threat. People are protesting in the streets, calling for elections, democracy, the usual stuff. The response? Tear gas and radio silence. The US president gets the most democratic suggestion of all. Just cancel the elections, bro. He hesitates, then gives in, because nothing says order like postponing democracy. And then comes the real gut punch. Lois Lane. She's had it with Superman, and she lets him have it. Verbally, of course. She throws everything in his face we've been thinking all along. The world's become a dystopia, and he's just the building manager of the apocalypse. Superman tries to defend himself, but it doesn't land. Lois walks. No kiss, no hope, just the bitter truth. Even heroes can betray. In the middle of this grayscale nightmare, a spark of color, Batman drops the bombshell. There's a parallel universe where they didn't defeat Lex Luthor. And of course, the team decides to go there. Hope, right? That stubborn belief in something better. But as they step through the portal, surprise! John Johns double-crosses them and locks everyone up. The new Justice Lords take over, strutting around just in time to face a giant monster wreaking havoc. And what does the new Superman do? He lobotomizes it. Yep, you read that right. Lobotomy. Even Lex would have raised an eyebrow. Lois sees it all, and nearly throws up in disgust. The disappointment is so heavy, you can smell the charred remains of hope. And in the end, no one answers the question echoing like a muffled thunderclap. Where is the Flash? And that silence says more than 1,000 speeches. The entire league is locked up in maximum security, each member restrained by power-nullifying wristbands. As the Justice Lord's Batman has a quiet conversation with our Flash, our seasoned, sharp-eyed Batman begins to piece things together, realizing something must have happened to their Flash. And from that realization, a plan begins to form. Flash, being Flash, fakes his own death by slowing his heartbeat until everyone thinks he's just another casualty. Then, he makes a comeback, ready to flip the script, and may set out on a covert mission to rescue Hawkgirl, who's been institutionalized in a psychiatric hospital, the standard protocol for wounded heroes in that dystopia. There, the series' most philosophical showdown takes place. Batman versus Batman. Our Batman, the guardian of moral boundaries, faces the Justice Lord Batman, who's traded justice for total control. The debate gets intense, like a soul staring into its own reflection. Luckily, our Batman manages to convince Justice Batman, and together they begin to put their plan in motion to bring down the Justice Lords. And who shows up to shake things up? Lex Luthor. That's right, a villain ready to trade freedom for tech, capable of neutralizing the Lord's powers. The plan works. But it raises a tough question. How far is too far to save the day? In the end, comes the emotional punch. Flash's absence was more than the loss of a hero. It broke the team's spirit. He was the humanity, the levity, the perfectly timed sarcasm. In a setting ripped straight from an 80s military nightmare, a squad is deployed into a ravaged territory in search of Fasan, but he's nowhere to be found. Instead, they stumble upon Mofir, part apocalyptic philosopher, part wandering mystic. Naturally, the squad brushes him off as the local lunatic, until Burns, one of the soldiers, starts acting weird, like something has taken over him. That's when the mission changes. The real threat isn't what they were sent to find, it's what was already there. Meanwhile, across the chaos, Flash is riding the wave of fame, commercials, cameras, and zero clue that he's being used as a media puppet. When TV host G. Gordon Godfrey turns his moral spotlight on the Justice League, Flash tries to play the good guy live on national television, and becomes a joke. He walks away the villain of his own interview, dragging the League's reputation down with him. Back at League HQ, Diana's furious. Green Lantern's trying to manage things with his usual brick wall empathy, and the tension is thick. To make matters worse, the AFD, a peacekeeping technology, almost triggers nuclear war, because when humanity tries to preserve peace, it always ends up building a red button. Flash finally wakes up after being asked to star in a commercial so humiliating even the Riddler would cringe. He dumps his agent, tears up his contracts, and decides it's time to be a real hero, not just between ad breaks. Back on the military front, Burns is interrogated but remembers nothing. A mysterious general shows up, clearly hiding more than he says. Conspiracy vibes? Definitely. And just to top things off, Morpheus reappears, no longer as the raving lunatic, but as a key piece in preventing a disaster. A black energy diamond ends up in the wrong hands, and it's up to Wonder Woman and Flash to stop the chaos. Fists fly, things blow up, and hard choices are made. In the end, Diana does what has to be done with the cold resolve of a warrior who stopped believing in happily ever after. The threat is contained, but the mood remains heavy. She looks out at the horizon and says,
I'm fine, but there's still so much to do.
Glorious Godfrey makes another grand entrance, accusing the Justice League of being nothing more than a bunch of marketing puppets, more obsessed with likes and followers than actually saving lives. The result? Total cancellation. Sponsors vanish, agents flee, and the League turns into a boy band without a record deal. And because bad news never comes alone, the anti-fusion device, a weapon meant to neutralize nuclear warheads, suddenly goes missing. Then Morpheus appears, accusing Wonder Woman of being possessed by the Heart of Darkness, a cursed diamond that houses the spirits of ancient serpents known as the Ophidians. Diana denies it, but the suspicion fractures the team. The cameras catch John acting strangely, and he's not the only one. Everyone in the League has been corrupted. The symbol of hope becomes a wrecking machine, revealing that the diamond is basically a demonic possession USB stick. Now there's a new bombshell. The Ophidians plan to hurl the anti-fusion device into the sun to trigger a stellar collapse. The goal? Reboot the entire solar system. Flash is desperately trying to escape from the League members. During his frantic run, he comes across something, an incredibly intense light. The League is back, but there's still one major problem. The sun is already being consumed. The only hope is to use the Javelin's wormhole generator, which only activates at near light speed. Green Lantern can't pull it off, but Flash, with a boost from the ring, runs like never before. It's a race against the end of the world. He opens the wormhole, drains the bomb, and saves the day. Exhausted, he collapses into his teammates' arms. The media, of course, flips the script, from canceled to national heroes. The contracts come back, the likes skyrocket, and to top it off, Morpheus becomes the face of a pharmaceutical ad. Amid explosions that would make Michael Bay blush, Solomon Grundy is smack in the middle of the battlefield, smashing tanks like they're soda cans. Looking like Shrek's evil twin, he yells his classic line, because nothing says peace like a raging ogre tearing everything apart. Then, out of nowhere, Aquaman shows up. Sadly, no seahorse ride, and whisks the big guy away to Dr. Fate's mystical spa. Once there, it's time for some esoteric therapy. Grundy, the monster, confesses that what he truly wants is his soul back. Kinda sweet, actually. Dr. Fate casts a spell that reveals Grundy's past. He used to be Cyrus Gold, a poor soul turned into a zombie with no spirit. The revelation hits Grundy harder than a Superman punch. He whispers, "Grundy, remember." And honestly, I kinda felt bad for him. Meanwhile, halfway across the globe, the Justice League is getting suspicious of Aquaman, because when the King of the Seas goes rogue, it's never good news. Mera, ever the Zero Patience Queen, isn't helping matters, and only adds to the tension. Back at the interdimensional spa, Grundy, Aquaman, and Dr. Fate gear up to seal a cosmic rift. You know, your typical Tuesday. Grundy agrees to suffer if it means helping out. Character growth alert. But right at crunch time, guess who shows up? The League. As usual, they barge in without knocking or asking questions. Chaos ensues. The spell gets wrecked. The cosmic rift starts acting up, and Dr. Fate drops the line no one wants to hear. You may have unleashed something you shouldn't have, and we all know, if the Golden Helmet Wizard is worried, things just got real. Dr. Fate and Aquaman reveal that the entity they were trying to seal poses a threat to bring back the Ancients. Who are they? Essentially, they're former interdimensional beings that Poseidon banished centuries ago using his trident. Enter Aquaman, our little king of the deep, who decides he's not risking Atlantis for the surface folk. "My people come first," he says. You could practically hear the drums of selfishness echoing from his coral throne. So, what happens? Part of the League dives into Ixtoltu's cosmic nightmare without him. Way to go, Aquaman. 0 points for teamwork. Once inside Ixtoltu's Lovecraftian realm, things spiral fast. The bizarre entity ruling the place spots Hawkgirl and goes, "I know that DNA. Turns out she's got Thanagarian roots." And when Ancestry calls, Chaos usually answers. Grundy, in a moment worthy of a posthumous Oscar, demands his soul back. That's right, the same soul everyone assumed had left along with his dignity. He charges at the cosmic horror like there's no tomorrow, and spoiler alert, there almost isn't. He gets beaten worse than a main character in a final season, but hangs on just long enough for Hawkgirl to finish the ritual. Rift sealed, Ixtholtu exorcised into oblivion, and Grundy collapses right into the heroine's arms, completely wrecked. Then comes the heartbreaker. Hawkgirl whispers that his soul is waiting for him. Cue the tears, even for a zombie. In the end, Hawkgirl stands before Grundy's grave, wearing that look that says she's learned faith sometimes comes from the most unlikely places, and that even a musty-smelling, concrete-fisted freak can become a hero. Yes, Grundy, you became a legend. Chaos breaks out at Prime Tech, where Shade, yes, everyone's favorite walking shadow, makes his big comeback, ticking things off with a stylish heist. But the real robbery here is the audience's patience. As the Justice League proves, it's more disorganized than a family group chat during election season. Between finger-pointing heroes and tactical fails worthy of a Sunday pickup game, the once unshakable trust turns to stardust. Meanwhile, on the villain side of the mess, Gorilla Grodd, that ape with a villainy MBA, decides it's time for a crime-themed PowerPoint and starts recruiting the baddest of the bad: Giganta, Sinestro, Parasite, and the cherry on top, Clayface. Yep, the mud monster who somehow manages to be more emotionally available than most humans. The villain's plan? Form the Secret Society, a super original name, almost as secretive as your close friend's Instagram stories. And while the villains sip coffee and plan world domination, the League attempts to train, but guess what? Superhero egos don't exactly fit in a classroom. Despite having the numbers, the heroes get their spandex handed to them by the society. They take such a beating that even Batman probably thought about switching identities. The result? Fractured feelings. Egos more bruised than Flash's suit after a marathon, and Clayface confessing all he ever wanted was to be normal, as if it's easy being made of mud and emotionally complex. The League is in shambles, emotionally speaking. Grodd, the chaos psychologist gorilla, decides to poke at old wounds instead of shooting laser beams. No hypnosis here, just pure resentment amplification. The result? Hero versus hero, with all the tension of a dysfunctional family group chat. The crime syndicate sets up a global embarrassment reality show, parading the League as their latest trophy. But then comes the glitch in the Matrix. Clayface gets frozen by mistake and shatters the illusion. That moment snaps the League back to reality. They take a deep breath and win. Not with fists, but with trust. Miraculously, victory comes, but not without scars. Because deep down, some truths slipped out, mind control or not. And that's how the League learns the ultimate superhero lesson. Real power is trusting your teammate. 5 villains. Count 'em. 5. Sounds like a clearance sale, right? Toyman, Livewire, Weather Wizard, Calabec, and Metallo come together for a dark ritual with peak final emo phase energy, chanting one word in unison: revenge. The plan? Ambush Superman. But like every brilliant idea hatched by a committee of washed-up villains, it's half the Justice League that walks right into the trap. Things heat up, acid-based weapons are fired, and boom! Superman vanishes. Gone. Disappears like your paycheck 5 days after it hits the bank. Silence. The fighting stops. The League is collectively stunned. Naturally, the world grinds to a halt. It's not every day that the muscular symbol of morality vanishes without a trace. His funeral turns into a global event. World leaders, mourning crowds, and full-on drama. Lois Lane wastes no time sinking her journalistic teeth into Lex Luthor, who stays cool as ever, playing the just watching game. And Batman, the Dark Knight, skips the funeral. Of course he does. He's got priorities, like investigating, because if there's a mystery, you better believe Bruce Wayne is neck deep in it. No body, no crime. That's the rule. And Batman, he's a believer. Meanwhile, the League is left figuring out life without their flying beacon of hope. Then suddenly, enter Lobo. Yep, that Lobo. The loudest, rudest, most obnoxious intergalactic biker in the universe shows up offering to fill in for Soups. Imagine the League's HR dealing with that. He's brash, crude, and his ego makes Tony Stark look humble. But hey, confidence counts for something, right? As Metropolis spirals into chaos thanks to a massive supervillain jailbreak, the League scrambles to contain the mess. Even Lobo pitches in, or makes things worse, depends on your angle. But Superman's absence looms larger than Kal-El's ego. Superman wakes up powerless on a desolate planet. Red sun sun, no flight, no strength, no charm. He soon discovers he's on Earth in the future, like millennia ahead. The world, a wasteland. The culprit, Vandal Savage, who wiped everything out with a gravity weapon. All because Superman died. Drama levels. Soap opera. Now feeling guilty, of course, Savage has a plan. Use a time machine to fix the past. But first, Superman has to retrieve a stolen generator from some monsters. He agrees, and as he nears the core, boom, his powers come back. Because why not? The plan is set. Go back in time and stop a crucial event. Vandal Savage stealing star matter from Ray Palmer. Superman makes the jump. The League celebrates. Lobo gets tossed aside with a smug grin. And the hero warns, enjoy the reunion, but trouble's far from over. Hawkgirl and Green Lantern kick things off with a heated verbal smackdown, until Joker hijacks the show by crashing the airwaves with a live broadcast and a bomb threat in Las Vegas. Because let's face it, he lives for the drama. He doesn't come alone. He's brought the Royal Flush Gang, 5 misfits with enough baggage to fill a daytime soap. The first bomb? Just a warm-up, a red herring, but there are 25 more scattered across the city, and so begins the mad dash. Flash and Batman defuse one, Hawkgirl and Green Lantern tackle another. Meanwhile, Joker and Ace are watching everything with a bucket of popcorn, as if it were the latest binge-worthy reality show. Joker notices a spark of romance between Hawkgirl and Green Lantern, so why not blow them both up? Boom! The bomb goes off right on Green Lantern. Flash saves the day with some last-minute improvisation. But it was all just a distraction. The real plan? Using Ace's psychic powers to drive the nation insane. Live on primetime TV. That's right, psychic chaos for the evening crowd. Harley gets kicked off the show and totally loses it, but the resolution doesn't come through punches. It comes from Batman doing the unthinkable. He talks to Ace. Emotions run high. She turns on the Joker and dies like someone quietly apologizing for all the trouble she's caused. In the end, Green Lantern is alive. Hawkgirl's in tears, and the two finally admit the obvious. They're in love. Everything seemed a little too calm in Washington. The kind of calm that screams, something's about to go wrong. The Kasnian delegates were in town for yet another peace summit that, let's be honest, never actually brings peace. While the diplomats exchange pleasantries, Jon Stewart and Hawkgirl are busy trading glances that say,
But after we're done, let's get some takeout from that Chinese place near your apartment.
Great. But this time, no eelheads.
But before flirting turns to kissing, a Gordanian warship crashes the party, followed by a full Thanagarian fleet, like an off-season interstellar Mardi Gras. Then comes the slap in the face. Commander Rotalik reveals that Hawkgirl is actually an undercover spy, and just to twist the knife, he drops the bomb that she's also his fiancée. Green Lantern takes the heartbreak like a punch to the gut, in full public and interplanetary view. Turns out, it was all staged. The Gordanians were just a scapegoat, a manufactured threat so Thanagar could justify seizing control of Earth. The League realizes too late. The Watchtower is overrun, and trust melts faster than ice cream in the Sahara. Friendship shattered, romance obliterated, and a massive cosmic told you so. Diana kicks down the prison ship door and starts the rebellion solo, busting everyone out with sheer brute force. The escape is total chaos, gunfire, brawls, and a crashing ship, but somehow, miraculously, the League makes it out. Now fugitives, they decide to disappear and leave their heroic identities behind. That's when Clark, Bruce, and Wally take off the masks, literally, and reveal who they are. Meanwhile, on the other side of the story, Shayera finally uncovers the awful truth. The entire Thanagarian operation was a genocidal lie. The so-called defense plan was actually a scheme to wipe out Earth. Devastated, she breaks down. Back at Wayne Manor, the heroes gather, trying to figure out if they can still trust her. Shayera shows up, confesses everything, and hands over the invasion plans in a last-ditch attempt at redemption. But trust is shattered, and all she gets are cold stares. Before they can even process the drama, Thanagar strikes again. They've tracked Shayera's location, and now the mission is simple: destroy the League. The heroes hatch a wild plan: use the Watchtower as a missile to blow up the Thanagarian generator. Batman, because he doesn't believe in easy mode, volunteers to manually pilot the station. Spoiler, he survives, obviously. In the midst of war, Jon Stewart, without his power ring, goes toe-to-toe with Rotalik and wins. Shayera confronts her ex, who pleads for a soap opera-style excuse for everything, but she chooses the truth and Jon. Earth is saved, just barely. Ro backs down, the Thanagarians retreat, and the emotional scars remain. Shayera submits herself to the League's judgment, resigns and leaves, giving Jon a goodbye that cuts deep. And so, through punches, betrayal, and warships falling from the sky, the Justice League proves it's not just just about saving the world, it's about surviving the emotional fallout too.